Hello, everyone. This is Senior Biotech Analyst John Vandermosten. Welcome to our channel that educates the life sciences investor on exciting advancements in drugs, biologics, and devices. For more content and news like this, subscribe to our channel below and like or share with others. Welcome to our show again. We have Allarity Therapeutics and its CEO, Jim Cullum. Jim, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hi, John. I'm doing well, and thanks for having me back.
Hey, you're welcome. It should be fun. We're gonna talk about Allarity Therapeutics' new strategy of using combination therapies along with your drug response predictor platform. It's a great approach because combination therapies are a very important part of the oncology landscape. So tell us how Allarity will be moving forward with this strategy.
Happy to talk about that, John. And as you correctly note, the current trend, the current standard of care in oncology has increasingly shifted away from monotherapies to combination therapies, including the very successful combinations with immune checkpoint inhibitors that we've been seeing really revolutionize the treatment of cancer patients across a number of different indications. Our recently announced strategy shift is really refocusing the company to align with that trend, not just the trend now, but where the field is going. Historically, our company has acquired former big pharma, clinical stage former big pharma assets that were being developed as monotherapies, and our model has been to reinvigorate and advance those assets in the clinic using our DRP companion diagnostic technology. We develop and validate a DRP diagnostic for each drug, and then we couple that together when we move through clinical trials to select and enroll the most likely responder patients. And like any other company, we try to keep up with the times, and we try to see where the field is going, the market opportunities, and that has recently led us to the shift to utilizing our assets in combination settings rather than historically monotherapy.
Exactly. So I mean, the interesting thing about your lead program is you actually have two of your drugs in the program. So what attracted you? You know, Stenoparib and Dovitinib are the two assets there. What attracted you to each of those? You said they're former big pharma assets. You know, as you're looking around, what piqued your interest to get those?
Some years ago, when we were in drug acquisition mode, and we shifted to that mode in order to own and control our own drug assets, and also use those assets to drive the value of the DRP, we had a number of parameters, John, that we looked at in identifying and acquiring promising assets. And one very important parameter was we wanted to pick up drugs that had previously shown promising signs of efficacy in patients. So historically, we were not looking at first-in-man study phase drugs. We primarily were picking things up after phase 2, or even in the case of Novartis, which we acquired from, Dovitinib, which we acquired from Novartis, phase 3. But in all cases, always looking for assets that had shown efficacy, and that is the case of all three of our priority programs: Dovitinib, Stenoparib, which we acquired from Eisai, and Exempra, which is a former Bristol Squibb drug that is marketed and sold in the U.S. by R Pharm US.
Yeah, interesting. Well, so I wanted to shift to your lead indication now, which is ovarian cancer. And I had the chance to look at some stats prior to our talk today, and there are about 20,000 individuals, or women in the United States that are diagnosed every year, and about 300,000 around the globe. So, you know, it's a big market. Tell us about that and how, how those individuals, or what the addressable market is in those 20,000 in the US and 300,000 around the world for your combination therapy.
So our combination study that we've recently announced to the market we want to run is for second line or later stage ovarian cancer. It comes after first line standard of care, which is currently platinum chemotherapy, and additionally, not in combination, but additionally a PARP inhibitor. And most of those patients, or many of those patients, sadly will progress after that frontline therapy. So there is an ongoing need for additional second line and later therapeutics. In our case, our PARP inhibitor would come after a prior PARP line, but prior work, including work that has been done by AstraZeneca, which brought the first PARP inhibitor to market, has shown that there are some percentage of patients which will respond to a re-challenge with PARP inhibitor. In this case, we're combining it with our pan-targeted kinase inhibitor, Dovitinib, which we're doing because we believe there is the potential for a synergistic therapeutic benefit, not just additive. So we're representing to these ovarian cancer patients two different mechanism of action drugs, which we believe can provide a synergistic benefit in the second line or later setting, and offer the patient something new that doesn't exist right now.
Yeah, exactly. And wanted to shift again to combination therapy. That's a very important area right now. It's emerged as one of the most important areas in cancer because cancer is really a multifactorial disease. If there's a tumor, it's not just one type of tumor. There's many components to it, and one drug may address one part of that tumor, but there are other parts that will proliferate and perhaps metastasize. So it really makes a lot of sense to, in the first approach at cancer, to actually come at it from multiple directions at once. And so how are you leveraging your portfolio with the two assets that you have to really address this new wave in cancer treatment that's been around, just for probably just about a decade or so?
It's a great question, John. You hit the nail on the head that given the complexity of cancer and the reality that cancer evolves to evade our own immune systems, evade our own biological systems of eliminating cancer, and to survive. Historically, monotherapy approaches simply haven't worked that well. Most of these patients do end up progressing and relapsing, and combination therapies that we've seen out in the field now, whether it's immune checkpoint inhibitors or combinations with chemotherapeutics, are in many cases showing unexpected synergistic activity against tumors and providing much more substantial therapeutic benefit to the patients. So we are certainly aware of that, as announced in our recent strategy shift, and we are very interested in exploring and advancing potential synergistic benefits of our existing lead programs, not only with themselves, but potentially with other external assets. A good example are immune checkpoint inhibitors such as PD-1 inhibitors, and so on and so forth. So that process, which we initiated around the turn of the year and have spent a lot of time and a lot of good thinking in connection with our scientific advisory board experts, additional KOLs in the field that we use to help us in these processes, has led us as a first program to be a combination of our two assets, Stenoparib plus Dovitinib, in the second line and later ovarian cancer setting. But we are ongoing very aggressively with considering additional combination studies that we think we should run with one or more of our current pipeline assets, possibly in connection with an external asset where it makes sense, where we can find a market opportunity that we can address, where we can provide meaningful therapeutic benefit to the patients.
Got it. And one last thing on this segment here, looking forward a few years to commercialization. Does it help to own two of the assets that will be used together in a combination therapy? What kind of benefits do you have by owning both of them?
It certainly does, John. Obviously, if we own both of the assets, as we do with Stenoparib and Dovitinib, we sort of control the whole flow of the program, from drug supply that we need for our clinical trials to ultimately getting hopeful approvals for these drugs and bringing them onto a market, with pricing issues, reimbursement issues, to the extent that we run a combination with some third-party asset. We don't have that level of control. What we've seen in the field, and this is still an evolving process that we're getting smarter on, but we're talking to consultants and advisors on, is what a marketing and pricing picture looks like if you bring a combination therapy to the market where you only own one of the drugs, and the pricing on the other drug is obviously going to be set and controlled by whoever the owner of that asset is. That being said, what you increasingly see in the field, at least in some cases, are global partnerships, global program alliances such as Merck and Eisai have with Merck's PD-1 inhibitor Keytruda and Eisai's pan-targeted kinase inhibitor Lenvima, where the companies are working together globally across different indications on that program. That's something that we see potentially as a future path for our assets.
Great, Jim. Well, thank you for being here. We've got Allarity Therapeutics, ticker symbol ALLR.